The KCSN Live Postgame Show with DJ Kissel and Kent Swanson is about to begin. The best postgame coverage you can find. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network. Live on the 101 The Fox Facebook page, KC Sports Network's YouTube channel, and tomorrow, well, wherever you find your podcasts. This is the KCN Live Postgame Show with BJ Kissel and Kent Swanson from the Bullpen Bar and Grill in Overland Park.
There it is. The Chiefs complete no-loss November with a 19-9 win over the Dallas Cowboys to send us into Thanksgiving and the bye week the exact way that all of us want to. So thank you all for joining us here on the post-game show on KC Sports Network. I'm BJ Kissel, joined by Kent Swanson, Tucker Franklin, Scott Ward, and we will be joined soon by Craig Stout and Maddie Lane to help break this down. We are at the Bullpen Bar and Grill out here in Overland Park, Kansas. And what a way for us to finish out, Kent, our experience at the Bullpen Bar and Grill, since we will soon be moving on to the Kingdom Bar and Grill after the bye week for the first couple of games, and then we will invite everybody to come hang out with us on December 16th, that Thursday night game. But Kent, this was the exact game that the Chiefs defense will start there because they were the story of this game. This was the game the Chiefs needed to see from the defense to have all his aspirations to get back to the Super Bowl and all those good things we've been talking about.
I mean, they capped off a great November for that side of the football, and they've just continued to get better. And a lot of people, including myself, wrote them off in a lot of different ways. I did not have a lot of confidence in their ability to turn this down. They look slow. They look like they lack some juice up front, and they turned things around very quickly in a big way. Started up front, which I'm sure we're going to talk about Chris Jones here in a little bit. But that defensive line was dominant and was absolutely led by Chris Jones, and perhaps his best performance as a Kansas City Chief, and that's saying a lot.
He's not the only player that we could make the case for having their best performance of their career in this game tonight against the Dallas Cowboys. Again, the Chiefs go to 7-4 on the season, and they are right in the 7-3 on the season. They are atop the AFC West, and again, we talked about 7-4, 7-4, whatever it is.
And it's basically
they're back at the top.
It's basically
of the division.
It's basically 8-4 because the Andy Reid bye week out of a bye week lock. So just thinking about that, already moving forward. Good things are happening in Kansas City.
Let's not move forward. Let's soak this one in. Let's talk about this one. And again, we are going to go through tomorrow's headlines with Craig Stout here in a minute. We've got key observations in a bit with Maddie Lane, the Big Cedar Drive, best drive of the game. And then we will get to your questions later in the game. Later in the show. So if you've got any questions, whether you're watching on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, the Twitch, wherever you're watching, please let us know what questions or comments you have, and Scotty will bring those up. But right now, let's bring on Mr. Craig Stout to help us break this one down. And it wouldn't be perfect to not bring you on and start talking Chiefs defense, because they were absolutely dominant, holding the NFL's #1 offense to their lowest output of the season.
Just like we all expected, right? Like everybody expected that this is exactly the way that this game was going to go. Nobody doubted that the Chiefs had racked up some good performances there. And maybe we're going to come up against the NFL's #1 offense and bleed a little bit. But holy cow, that defense was awesome all day. A complete performance. One of the better performances in Steve Spagnuolo's tenure as a defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. I loved it. I loved it from start to finish.
Yeah, there's so many things to unpack with this defensive performance, honestly. There really is. And I think we probably need to start with, two key, situational football was fantastic for this defense. Third down and in the red zone, Craig. Both of those two key metrics. The Chiefs played very well in those areas.
Absolutely. The Chiefs held the Dallas Cowboys to 5 of 15 on third down. This is now 4 weeks in a row that the Chiefs defense has been locked down on third down. It's going to be amazing to really dig into those third downs again. But I'm looking at the red zone stuff. Like, officially, the Cowboys are 0 for 2 in the red zone. They did get in the red zone, and a penalty took them back, so they didn't have a snap there, so it doesn't technically count as an 0 for 3 in the red zone, but I'm counting it anyway because the Chiefs defense is so good. But just that's the situational football. When you win on those phases, and when you're that good on those phases, that's exactly what happens. How many times, Chief fans that are listening to this, how many times when the offense struggled to move the ball, turned the ball over, missed field goal, did you think, oh man, here it comes? And then lo and behold, the Chiefs defense steps up to yet another challenge of a good offense. And they were just able to shut them down for most of the day. So yeah, situational football was almost perfect on the day. And you couldn't have convinced me of that in like week 3 of this season from this Chiefs defense.
What? Oh, do you have something you want to say?
No, you guys go.
Well, I was thinking about week 3. You look at early in the season, and this team is, they're struggling to get a pass rush. We're making comments about how expensive this pass rush up front is, and the production that they're getting. We're seeing guys like L'Jarius Sneed not playing maybe to his best, and boy, the script flipped in a drastic way because the big time players made big time plays in a big time game here on the defensive side of the football, Craig.
Yeah, you guys remember when we were talking about how the Chiefs defense couldn't stop anybody in the red zone? Now all of a sudden you've got Chris Jones making monster plays. That's the best game of Chris Jones' career. Arguably the one from Philly a couple of years ago was the one that you would chart up there. This game had plays from the first quarter all the way to the fourth quarter there with that tip ball that you got to see there at the end. Frank Clark got pressure all night long off of the edge. Melvin Ingram made some terrific plays, but shout out to the cornerbacks, man. L'Jarius Sneed and Charvarius Ward both coming up with interceptions, both playing ridiculously well all game long. They didn't get the matchups that we all thought when this past week started with Amari Cooper, with CeeDee Lamb. They didn't get those same matchups, but it didn't matter. They showed up, they shut down the guys opposite them, and they were trusted in man coverage throughout the day. Like, that was the thing. They lined up and played man coverage out of Steve Spagnuolo's defense, and they were able to limit a dynamic offense. Just a phenomenal job by the defensive stars. That's what you pay those guys to do. That's what they did today.
Yeah, and I laughed when you brought up the Philadelphia game because I remember that was the one where Chris Jones got the ball in his hand and said, I got it, and all I was thinking about was taking it to Overland Park. And that's all I can remember from that game and talking about it. But I can say, regardless of being the best game of his career, what Chris is going to be upset about is once he got the ball in his hands, he tried to make a couple moves and lost yardage. That's going to kill him. It's going to get so much crap in the locker room after that game because of that particular moment. But absolutely dominant performance from Chris Jones. But Craig, I want to ask you about the other side of the ball and ask you about the offense because the last 8 drives, and as much as it was about the Chiefs defense, it wasn't just because of the stats. It's because of the leverage and the momentum that they were constantly fighting against when it felt like the offense couldn't get anything going. The last 8 drives by the Chiefs offense, they only walk away with a field goal. That puts a lot of strain on your defense because of what the offense did and some of those key turnovers again.
Yeah, I mean, they saw double-digit drives, the defense did, because the offense was not moving the ball, and they weren't doing a good job of taking time off the clock when they weren't moving the ball. So we got to see this defense have to line up and play a ton of snaps, and you started to see them get a little gassed as the game went along there, but they kept coming up with those stops. You look at this offense, the Dallas Cowboys, once again, this too high defense that we're going to probably be talking about for the rest of the season that the NFL, by and large, hasn't figured out. It's not just the Chiefs right now, but they really struggled to move the ball, and the drives that they did move the ball, the Chiefs offense turned it over once again. Yeah. And you can kind of see that momentum, the confidence just kind of drain from the offense when those turnovers have occurred so far this season. This game was the exact same. And now all of a sudden you seem less dynamic, second guessing stuff rather than pitching the ball. Mahomes tries to fake pitch it on, late in the game. It's like, it's stuff like that was just clicking, and it was going ridiculously well early in the game. Now all of a sudden it's a struggle. It's an uphill climb, and it happens after those turnovers. It just seems like those turnovers are the back-breaking thing that just kind of ruins the rest of the night for the Chiefs offense.
But again, a big credit to the defensive side of the football for taking care of that, of the situations that they were presented, because that was a really big and really, Craig, before we, get you off here, I really wanted to talk to you about, like we talked about the stars, but I don't know if I can identify one person that really had a bad game on the defensive side of the football. Like, we talked about the stars making plays, but think about it. If you can, I think everyone across the board, I think some of the linebackers, I think actually played pretty well. Safety largely played pretty well. Interior defensive line, like that. Was there any glaring issue here on the defensive side of the ball for this team?
No, and we were a little worried about this game, in the pregame period with Tyrann Mathieu maybe being limited. He was obviously out there, and he played well. Dan Sorensen played well in his dime reps. He came up with a big hit there at the end of the game, stopped a ball from getting there. They all played well. Juan Thornhill played really well, had a couple really great fills coming downhill, good tackles. Linebackers played well. Like, nobody on that side of the ball played poorly. And when you hold the NFL's number one offense to 9 points and 0 touchdowns, like that means that you played well as a unit, but it's not always to the level that they did, because it was the entire unit. Everybody played ridiculously well. Shout out to Rashad Fenton. I hope he's okay. He was a massive player for this team today as well. This bye can't come soon enough. This defense is a little beat up, but they were warriors out there playing and holding a good offense down today.
And those warriors, and they were leaders. And you know what else? Who are leaders? Fairway Independent Mortgage. Fairway Independent Mortgage makes the home loan process as simple as possible by guiding you through every step, just as they've done for the past 25 years. Call Jennifer Dixon at 816-390-8898. That's 816-390-8898. Great rates, a focus on customer service, and the fastest turn times in the industry. That's Fairway Independent Mortgage. Mr. Big Institution, thank you so much. And everybody listening, catch all of his analysis throughout the week on our daily Substack newsletter. And you can also catch him each week with Mike DeVito and some guy you may have heard of, Derek Johnson, joined us this week to start doing a weekly defensive breakdown that Craig is very excited about.
They're 4-0 since DJ agreed to come on KCSN. I'm just saying, this team is 4-0, and that defense has looked awesome. Correlation.
Facts only. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We will be joined by Maddie Lane here in just a little bit. But right now, we are going to take a quick break, and you're going to get a chance to see some of the other shows that we have here on KC Sports Network on the college side. We'll be right back. Yeah, welcome back to the Bullpen Bar and Grill out here in Overland Park. I'm BJ. That is Kent. And right now it is time for the Big Cedar Golf Best Drive of the Game. And before we break it all down, take a quick look at what makes Big Cedar so special. Absolutely beautiful down there. And what was beautiful is when the Chiefs were up 16-3, they got the ball to start the second half. It was a quick turnover, the one to Travis Kelce bounced off him. And then it could have been oh no, here we go again. And instead it was here we are for anyone who doubted us, talking about the Chiefs defense. We already talked about them being the story of the game. This was the drive of the game, in our opinion, holding the Cowboys with all the momentum on the Cowboys side to just the field goal count.
It was massive. It was a representation of I think this entire performance for this defense, bailing this team out for the entirety of the game, because the Chiefs offense had time and time again opportunities to close this game out, and the defense kept responding. And this was a prime example. Turnover to start the second half when we thought, starting to get a little bit of momentum on the plus territory. What does that defense do? They tighten up in the red zone. They force a field goal again for a really high powered offense, a very good offense. I don't care who missed today. I don't care if CeeDee Lamb missed a little bit. Amari Cooper missing the game. That's still a good unit, a good play callers, and the Chiefs went out and stopped them and held them to a field goal in a key situation in that game.
Absolutely. That was the Big Cedar Golf best drive of the game. And Big Cedar Lodge is quickly becoming known as America's next great golf destination with some of the best designed courses in the country nestled just down the road in the Ozarks. It's exactly what you need when you know you need it. Ozark National, Big Cedar, Paynes Valley, Buffalo Ridge, Top of the Rock. BigCedar.com will take care of all of it. You can plan your trip right now. You may see Kent and I down there with some Sticks golf clubs here in a little bit. But right now, let's bring on Mr. Matty Lane to help break down what he saw from the Chiefs in this game today. Again, winning 19-9 over the Dallas Cowboys in a huge game, no matter how we ended up getting here. This was huge for the Kansas City Chiefs. Matty, what stood out to you tonight?
There's a lot of stuff. I think the biggest thing you have to start with, though, is this Chiefs offense. It's still not clicking right. They only scored 19 points against the Cowboys defense, and they did the majority of that work kind of at the beginning of the game. But on the other side, the Chiefs defense continues to play as good, if not better, than anybody could have thought coming into it. So it's a little bit bittersweet to kind of see the offense struggle so much, but at least the defense is starting to pick up some of that slack.
Yeah, Maddie, we really hoped that we were going to get to see a continuation of what we saw last week on Sunday Night Football against the Las Vegas Raiders with the offensive performance. And, it kind of came back to the same kind of script. The Chiefs offense sputtered for, you said, eight drives and 3 points out of those drives after, starting a little bit hot. I don't even know where to start. Let's just say, what do you think the biggest issue today was on the offensive side of the football?
I mean, the offense just keeps banging their head into a brick wall. They see the same coverage week in and week out, except for last week when they clearly had a good performance. They see the same coverage and they keep trying to do the same stuff that isn't working. It's a lot of middle field passes. They're trying to attack the intermediate area of the middle of the field, and you have so many players playing into that area. That's where corners are trying to funnel all these crossing routes to, and you just get the Chiefs continuously trying to throw the ball right there. Another thing that's not working is isolating Travis Kelce on the backside of 3-by-1 stuff. It's just not working, and the Chiefs brought that back this week. You combine that with going away from the run for what seemed like 6 out of those 8 drives, and you just have an offense that's being too stubborn for its own good.
There was only one guy that caught a pass over 25 yards today for the Kansas City Chiefs. That was Byron Pringle with a 37-yard catch, 2 targets.
Just like we all thought.
Just like it was a really nice play call. It was one of the better play calls that we saw the entire game. Actually, the funny thing is, Matty, I'm pretty sure Mahomes had Tyreek Hill on an out route and Byron Pringle wide open on the corner. And of course, he's going to take the deeper shot. But Byron Pringle, talk a little bit about him. I think he's been a nice little piece here the last couple weeks.
Yeah, and we talked about it for a couple weeks. It looks like Byron Pringle is starting to slowly gaining more and more of Patrick Mahomes' trust. Whether he is playing well, but that could also be because other guys aren't stepping up for whatever the reason may be. He's getting on the field more often, and they seem to have this, a better connection than they did to start the season. And so what you're seeing is not only is Byron Pringle a guy that Mahomes trusts to throw the ball to, the Chiefs can put him into some interesting spots. They can play him on the line of scrimmage. They can allow him to run over the middle of the field and kind of take some of these more possession receiver routes. He's just got a different skill set than you see out of a McCole Hardman, Tyreek Hill, or even a little bit of Travis Kelce, and that's something the Chiefs have greatly needed. So the more Byron Pringle snaps we're getting right now, I think the better off this offense has been.
So, do you feel – I'm just going to ask, do you feel better about what we saw offensively if, the Chiefs go down and they're able to convert that touchdown on the first drive of the second half? Like, how do you feel about this game if the ball doesn't bounce off of Travis Kelce's hands, they don't get that turnover, and they go down and score? Like, how do you feel? Like, what is your feeling about this team after that?
Yeah, that's kind of where the tipping point was, I think, for the offense kind of went from trying to do stuff to trying to burn the clock. I think after that interception, they were still playing their offense. I think they still came out and threw the ball a lot, but they looked like they were trying to burn the clock. So there was still a lot of stagnant drives between, their last score and that one, but you could chalk them up to Trey Smith penalties, drops by McCole Hardman, by Josh Gordon. Like, there were their own self-inflicted mistakes. So, yeah, if they go down and score at the start of the second half, I think you feel a lot better. It's just the fact that they could not get anything going because of these own mistakes they were making. It's the same offense you've been seeing for the past month outside of the Raiders game.
I'm just trying to I'm trying to gauge how I feel about this offense compared to some of the other performances, because I don't think it's quite as bad as what we've seen at times this year. I think there's, the ball was moving a little bit more. They were getting the ball in the red zone with a little bit more consistency, obviously, and they had some more opportunities there. Sputtered out with some drops. Sputtered out with some self-inflicted wounds still, but it did seem like there was a little bit more momentum, a little bit more rhythm at times than we'd seen, but probably not to the standard that we're accustomed to with this organization, this offense.
Yeah, and it's the biggest issue. It was this performance isolated by itself would be something that I think you could move on from. There was a couple third downs in which Micah Parsons had a great pass rush. That's going to happen when you're playing, your third string right tackle, or even Orlando Brown. That's a bad matchup for him. Then you have a couple drops. That happens. It's just this game was a backward step from last week. They didn't improve on what the offense did last week, so you're kind of still left going into the bye week as a fan wondering, what does this offense need to do? Because we're still not really seeing any signs of progression towards getting back to being a dominant offense at this point in time.
Let's move back to the other side of the ball then. Let's go back to what the story of this was,
please.
Which was the defense. And I just saw a status retweeted on social media from NFL Research. The Chiefs defense has allowed fewer than 20 points in 4 straight games, all wins. The last time they did that was a 5-game streak from weeks 11 through 16 in 2019. Just over a month after that streak, they won Super Bowl LIV. Those are the stats that I want to talk about.
Ooh. You love to see it. Hashtag no loss November.
This defense has been great. And I know Craig talked a lot about it, so I don't need to talk about every single part of it. But this defense is a lot of fun to watch. This defense is a lot of fun to watch right now. What they're doing with the pass rush, they have 2 edge players right now that are both rushing the passer really well. You're forcing quarterbacks to step up. Jerron Reed's playing better, and then Chris Jones, obviously had one of his best performances of his career. Everybody's kind of working together on the front line now, and it shows up. What kept catching my eye, and I don't know about you guys there, L'Jarius Sneed and Willie Gay just moving around the field. That's something the Chiefs haven't had in a long time.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one of those plays, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it was late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, where it was a third down play that was swung out to the outside, and they showed it. The natural pick play is what they talked about. Willie Gay got out and made the tackle, and I tweeted out, that's a winning play, because that was when they didn't have the momentum. Open field tackle, linebacker getting out in space, making a tackle, was a 1.5 yards, 2 yards short of a first down on the plus 30. Anywhere further than that, Dallas may be going for it. This is one of those plays that may not be on a highlight reel, but when you look back, that's one of the biggest plays of the game.
And Willie Gay has a couple of those every single week where the ball gets out quick enough to the flat that it should be a problem, but you just get that wide view when the replay shows it. And thankfully, that's the one good thing about Fox. You get a lot more good replays than CBS, because I don't know who does CBS's replays, but they're terrible. You get that wide view, and you see Willie Gay just fly across the field. And then other times it's L'Jarius Sneed breaking on a screen underneath, dipping under a block, and making a tackle on the line of scrimmage. These 2 guys are elite athletes, and you just can't attack the Chiefs in the same way that you have this defense the past couple of years with both those guys out there. They're not missing tackles frequently. They cover so much ground no matter where they are. When those 2 guys are out there, you see it. Those quick passes to the flat, quick out routes, they don't get that many more yards than they go for in the air.
Well, you think about when this team was not performing well defensively. Now, there was a lot of plays out in the edges that the Chiefs weren't getting to, that linebackers were tackling down the field, heading the wrong direction, or not tackling. A lot of missed tackles in the back 7 of that defense, out on the edges, not slipping blocks. And L'Jarius Sneed, we could slow down for a second, because we spent a lot of time talking about Chris Jones. L'Jarius Sneed had possibly the game of his life, and he got to finish it out with an interception. But the tackling, the closing, everything about this performance was as good as I've ever seen from a L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah, and I think he also broke up 3 passes. He had the big hit on Michael Gallup where he found him at the end of his zone and was able to break that one up. He had a great game, and he's been playing better and better as the years gone on. There was a lot of hype for him coming into the season, and I don't want to say he disappointed to start the year, but he looked like a second-year player that was drafted not in the first round, trying to get his feet back under him. But since he's looked great. And the last 2 weeks, we've seen the Raiders and the Cowboys keep trying to challenge the Chiefs out in the open field and making the cornerbacks tackle. But L'Jarius Sneed does that as good as anybody else when you include like the distance he has to cover. These aren't guys lined up right for him. So these plays he's making out in the open field, he's been great. Willie Gay's been great. You have Charvarius Ward, Rashad Fenton. All these guys are tackling and covering a lot of distance now. Like, this is a new style of Chiefs defense that we haven't had for the past 2-3 seasons.
Yeah, and here's just a natural plug for Sam McDowell of the Kansas City Star. Did a phenomenal piece this week on L'Jarius Sneed and what he's been through. And I think that's where Sam's at his best, that the storytelling stuff. It was phenomenal for anybody who hasn't had a chance to go read that. It's great when in this COVID environment that these journalists can get out there and spend some time with these players and pull some of these stories out. I think it's the best for all of us. And so, Maddie, anyway, we appreciate you for joining us on this. Do you have any final thoughts? And if so, let us know what those are, and then please let us know what we can find from you tomorrow morning on our newsletter and Substack.
So I think the final thought here is I'm glad the Chiefs have a bye week coming up. I think there's a couple guys that do need to get healthy, that need to kind of get their feet back under them, feel a little bit better going into it. But I also think this coaching staff, especially on the offensive side, they need some time to figure out what to do going forward. So this is a perfect time for the Chiefs in a bye week. They close it out without as strong of a schedule. So they're in a great spot going forward to lead into the playoffs, hopefully playing better. And as far as coming up tomorrow, we're going to look at a play of the game, and I think it's going to be a defensive play. We haven't had too many defensive plays of the game so far this week, but I got my eyes on one right now that I think kind of helped the Chiefs keep this low-scoring game as a big win for them.
All right, find him on Twitter at Chief in Carolina. Find him tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Arrowhead time on the KC Laboratory Live show with me, Craig, and Maddie. Matt, appreciate you, man.
The other thing that you're going to be able to find on that show tomorrow, for anyone who has not yet gone on Twitter and retweeted and followed us, is that we are giving away a Frank Clark autographed football before the KC Laboratory. Maybe you guys announce it on the KC Laboratory tomorrow.
You know what? If as long as you make me, as long as I read it, I'll be fine. I can't do anything ad lib. Just give
this
me
entire show is ad lib.
No, there's actually a teleprompter back there.
No, there's a Tucker back there is what there is. And we've been asking you guys all show to let us know what your questions and comments are, and we're going to bring those up here in a minute. But before we do that, right now we're going to do the 360 Vodka post-game toast. So if you're out there watching, or if you're listening to this on podcast after the fact, tomorrow morning, have an early one. But I want to give a post-game toast to Tyrann Mathieu and the Chiefs defense. Not to be too preachy about all of this, but the Chiefs defense had a lot of questions about it. They had a lot of doubters. They had a lot of things earlier in the season, ways they were trying to be picked apart. People were calling out Spags. They were saying this guy should be cut, that guy should be cut. And these guys stayed together from the beginning. The messaging never changed. Got made fun of for staying together. And now we're seeing him turn it around. And we've been the reason for No Loss November has been the Chiefs defense. So I'm raising my glass to Tyrann Mathieu and the Chiefs defense for continuing the leadership, all the stuff that people were preaching about. They did change it around. And it's the reason that we're in this position right now.
Absolutely.
All right, that was the post-game toast. Thanks to 360 Vodka. Talking a little Chiefs defense. The things I've been muttering during the entire game that you hear me say the whole time. The people can hear it.
There's never been a doubt with BJ Kissel. I can tell you that much. There's the belief within what he's been a part. I mean, part of it was you've been a part within that organization. You've seen the championship swagger. You've seen the championship DNA. And your confidence and your belief has never wavered. I can vouch for that.
I'm going to be cautious. I'm cautiously optimistic anyway. I won't make anything part of the show, but I'm cautiously optimistic anyway. I always have been. But it stemmed from being around these guys. I know what Tyrann is about. I know what Spags is about. And I don't think they forgot how to play football. I don't think that all of a sudden that's the level of football that they were going to play. It was only a matter of time before they got back to playing. I'm not going to say dominating the number one offense in the NFL that was coming in, averaging 32 points per game, and they get held to 9, their lowest output of the entire season. I can say we saw that, but having them come out and be an above average defense and the reason that you're going to win football games, yes, I saw that happening.
Well, they turned it around in a big way. And I mean, I don't want the fact that Amari Cooper, Tyron Smith, and CeeDee Lamb missed in the second half of the game. That does not diminish what we just saw, because worse offenses have put up points on the Chiefs defense differently than what we saw today. The Chiefs defense was outstanding, and it didn't matter that there was some issues, there's some attrition on that side of the football. That was a dominant performance. The Chiefs won that game by 2 scores. A 2-score win in the NFL is very hard to come by. That was an impressive win. That was an impressive defensive performance, and this group undoubtedly is coming in together, pulling things together. Things are starting to make a lot more sense. Being healthy has very clearly helped, and the athleticism on that side of the football, they're playing a lot faster than they were at the beginning of the year.
All right, and we've been asking this entire show for your questions, whether you're watching on Twitch, whether you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, wherever you're at. Please ask us those questions now, and we will get to those to wrap up this show. Again, the Chiefs win 19-9 over the Dallas Cowboys, move to first place, or stay in first place in the AFC West. The rest of the AFC keeps dropping back. We've seen Buffalo struggle. We're seeing Tennessee struggle without Derrick Henry. And then there's the Chiefs just figuring it out at the right time right here in the middle of the season, playing their best football. They do need a break. I like what Maddie said about this is a good time for the bye week, especially in the second half. It felt like the defense was getting a little tired with as much as they were out there in the second half when the offense was struggling. It was great to see. But before we bring on some of these questions, do you have any final thoughts before we get to this last segment?
Yeah, the Chiefs are in higher playoff seed than the Buffalo Bills right now. What? Who would have thought that? Oh, okay, yeah, okay. This guy. This is the weirdest NFL season I've ever seen.
You know what I love about watching these games with you guys now? That like I'm honestly saying all of these.
Oh yeah, I never doubted that. I really didn't.
People think I tweet like what I don't feel, or like no, it's honestly how I feel.
That's how he feels. And he's been proven right. Because at the end, I'm telling. To be fair, the AFC is bonkers. I've never seen a conference like this.
Buffalo surprised me. Baltimore being up and down does not surprise me because Lamar Jackson is up and down.
Yeah.
Tennessee doing what they're doing without Derrick Henry doesn't surprise me because their entire team was built around Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
All right, we saw a question right there. I lost it. How many interceptions does Snead finish the season with?
How many does he have right now? 2? I think he's got 2.
That's a great follow-up question that none of us were prepared for.
Should have known that one heading into that.
How about the rest of the year? Give me 2 more interceptions over the course of the rest of the season. So he's going to add 2 to whatever his total is. How about that? You like that answer?
I like that.
I think it's a good answer.
Chiefs offense puts up more points. Teams feel like I got to throw the ball a little bit more. But the defense is dominating. Run defense, everything. I mean, if the pass rush keeps playing like this, then the guys on the back end are going to get more opportunities to make plays because it all started with pressure. It started with the guys in the trenches winning. Because I think we tweeted out, even in the first half when Dallas made a few plays, even before CeeDee Lamb got hurt, it'd be like 2nd and 10 and they would get 11 yards. But we almost got to Dak. He had to make a tough play. It was a tough contested catch and then a quick tackle. Like everything, they were making him earn every single yard that they have. And it was only a matter of time. It was like, this is fine if the defense gives up 12 yards right here because they made him earn every single yard. Nothing was easy. That's a great sign for your defense.
Everything was so disconnected earlier in the year, and you see how everything kind of coming together at the same time has made a big difference. And Dak really, Dak had a lot of yards. He had a lot of garbage time yards that final drive, but he was under 200 yards before that drive started in passing.
Man. You got Carver.
Carver, where does the Chiefs defense stand among others in the league right now? Woo! They're trending in the right direction for sure. I mean, they're starting to look and shape up more like a top 10 type defense. I mean, honestly, what we've seen this last month has been outstanding. Oh, I thought you wanted to get a point in your okay. You think they're the best defense?
Do I think you can make a case over the last 4 weeks the Chiefs have been of how the rest of the league was playing? I could make that case, but I don't. But I can tell you right now, they just faced the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL and held their lowest output of the season. Came in averaging 32 points, scored 9 points.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big gap. It's a good job. It's really nice. Hey, if they play like that the rest of the year, there's not many defenses are going to be like them for sure. There's
a lot of teams that don't want to play the Chiefs right now the way that these guys are getting after it up front. I don't know if it can be understated, and I don't want to give all of the credit. Somebody came in from the outside, and it's everybody getting better, but Melvin Ingram is a grown man. Like, this guy is making a huge difference in just having another guy. What?
Yeah, he did a good performance too. I mean, there's so many guys. There's so many guys that just had a great game. I mean, you can't single anybody out that really struggled.
Butker missed a field goal. And an extra point.
I meant on defense, but Butker would struggle on defense. Can I get that Kyle Coffey? Okay. Kyle Coffey asks, is it bad to be upset or a bit upset thinking that this should have been a 20-point win? Yeah. I mean, it should have. If the offense does a little bit more, if they don't turn the ball over the same rate that they have, if they protect the ball better, there's a lot of little things offensively, but it falls on the offensive side of the football undoubtedly. I mean, the defense couldn't do anything more. The offense.
And what I love about those things, though, is we used to have conversations and questions like that about, was that good enough, or aren't you mad that it could have been a little bit better? Because if they play a really good team, because that was always like the clarifier. It's like you can't do that against Dallas. It's one of the best teams in the league.
That was the one seed in the NFC.
Yeah, it was one of the best teams in the league. They left a lot
scores.
on the table, and they still went out there defensively and just absolutely dominated.
Rarely do things just come together. Both sides of the football. You're not going to see a ton of those performances every year or every, you're going to see 2 or 3 where it's just both sides of the football are humming on all cylinders and it's just perfect. But you didn't get that today, but you got more than enough. And it's a 2-score win. It's a 2-score win.
Yeah, we're wrapping this show up. Here we go. Austin James, what do you say to the injury excuse from Cowboys fans? It's always going to affect things. Do I think if Amari Cooper was on the field, that if some of those targets that went to number 1, whatever his name is, that dropped a couple of passes, do I think they could have made a few more plays? Yes, but the coulda, shoulda, woulda games. Every team in the NFL can do that. Can't do that.
There's an injury.
It's a losing conversation that teams that lose have those conversations about. Well, if we didn't have it, well, you didn't, and that's not real.
The injury excuse will happen in every game in November, December, and January because every team is hurt. Your quarterback played, our
conversations
quarterback
like that.
It's fruitless. You know what? They can go off and enjoy their. It's almost Yankees baseball season.
They'll get a trophy at the end of the year, and
Cowboys fans can all enjoy Yankees baseball coming up soon.
They'll get a trophy at the end of the year too. They can all celebrate.
Starting soon.
They can celebrate the Micah Parsons Defensive Rookie of the Year and do a big hoopla about it while we're in.
Yeah, well. Yeah, I think Cowboys fans will have a lot of fun watching the Pro Bowl and all their players in the Pro Bowl.
Where's the Super Bowl this year?
LA.
Is it in LA?
It's in LA.
It is in LA. Can't confirm.
I'm just any Cowboys fans that came in from Dallas. I hope y'all got to try good barbecue finally. Anything?
Yeah, I was going to wrap up this show by saying the Chiefs go into the bye week. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving over the next week. We'll continue to bring content to you at KC Sports Network with the normal list of podcasts. We'll figure out what it looks like right around Thanksgiving, but we appreciate all of your support. Please continue to rate, review, subscribe, and follow us on all the different social media channels. Got a lot of cool stuff coming up, adding new shows every week. Couple of giveaways going on right now inside of our Facebook group. We're giving away 4 tickets to the Broncos game, so make sure you get inside that group and you show us that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. We're also giving away that Frank Clark autograph football. If you go on to Twitter, make sure you follow KC Sports Network and retweet that Frank Clark autograph football, and that will enter you as a chance to win that game. Again, the Chiefs head into the bye week, and when they come back-to-back home games against the AFC West with the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. Both those games are at noon at Arrowhead Stadium, so we will probably be giving away tickets to both those games. Already given away to the Broncos, probably give away some tickets to the Raiders, so make sure you're following us. Again, we appreciate all of your support. That is absolutely what we are thankful for here at KC Sports Network. So for BJ Kissel, for Kent Swanson, for Scott Ward, and for Tucker Franklin, for Craig and Maddie, appreciate you. We will see you next time.